Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Yeah, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And a big thanks to everyone who's checked out the merch store and picked up a hoodie or a t-shirt already. Sorry to any Canadians right now with the post office strike. You likely won't get anything until that's been resolved, so, you know, it is what it is. But with all that out of the way, let's see what we got today. We are live.
People don't realize how much knowledge is actually kept secret in the Vatican archives. 85 kilometers of shelf space, 35,000 volumes of catalogs, logging over 1,200 years worth of records. By 2018, it claimed to hold the equivalent of 180 terabytes of data, said to mainly store documents relating to the Pope, internal accounts of the Church, and other significant historic records. But up until 1881, no one but the Pope's inner circle was even allowed inside, so who knows what's really hidden down there. Even today, the secret archive is not accessible to the public, but only to certain scholars and under the most bizarrely specific conditions that you could imagine. First of all, any living pope needs to have been deceased for over 75 years before any documents collected during his time become available. Then, only academics who undergo a very thorough vetting process are allowed access, and also need to request special permission to anything they want to look at that can take months and may not always get granted. And even then, they wouldn't be able to just walk through and browse the archives to find what may be of interest. No, you need to specifically request the exact documents that you want to look at without ever stepping inside. Can you see how that might be an issue? 85 kilometers of shelf space. That's 2 marathons and would take the average person about 16 hours to fully walk through. Yet, they're required to request exactly the volumes they want to study from this monumental catalog without actually looking through it. And if we don't know certain volumes even exist, there's no way anyone can ask for it. Meaning, there is a lot of text down there that we will never know about. I'm not saying they're hiding secrets of, I don't know, Atlantis or the end of the world in these archives. Also not completely denying that they might be. But 35,000 volumes is an astronomical amount of information, and if they ever did want to keep something a secret, this would be the best place to hide it.
It's a lot of knowledge that we're not allowed to have.
This was actually having one animal learn something and seeing and recording that activity and put it into the sensory cortex of the second animal, and that animal acquires the knowledge. From the human drone technology standpoint, you can attach the human brain to another human brain. You can direct motor activity, or you can send communication and information. Dr. Ventnor's work is, my view, the equivalent of the development of nuclear weapons when you realize that he created life in a cell. He programmed yeast cells to produce anything he wanted. These can be inserted into you through the hypospray needles. You put in a specific gene slicing, you program what you like, you put it in the cell, and it can reproduce and make as much as you like. It sends a signal and tells which portion of the DNA should unwrap, unfold, and produce a product. Related to this is an idea called dreads. These are designer receptors that can be remotely controlled. You can create a cell, you can put it somewhere in the body, and you can remotely activate it. So you have the capacity to create any product. As long as you know the DNA sequence, you can insert it into a living system, and you can remotely control it. That may affect the way you think, the way you act. So once you know that the technology is there to edit, splice, and program a cell, and the technology currently exists to administer it to somebody and have it go park anywhere you program it to go park, proliferate, and do its function, you can have things activated in other people's brains. Just people have figured out how to hide imagery in the DNA of bacteria. You can have the information reproduced in a string form as a form of a protein. The new way to hide information is going to be in DNA. This is the first experiment showing what imagery you can hide in bacteria. This is the latest. It's a GIF file. Well, this is what the Chinese are doing with DNA. Merging DNA systems with quantum computing will be really quite an amazing and both lethal threat. The next thing I wanted to mention to you is memory. Can we erase memory? Can we modify memory? Can we change memory? The short answer is yes.
Well, there you go.
Alcohol means body-eating spirit, al-Kul in Arabic, hence why vodka is called spirits. Jinn is a jinn, which are invisible creatures in early religions. This is where jinx comes from. When you jinx something, it means bad luck, because the spiritual planes is what they are hiding from you. They want you to believe everything is just physical. Jay-Z's alcohol brand has a Knight Templar symbol called the Cross of Lorraine, which is one of the highest orders of Freemasonry. Alcohol destroys the connection between your oversoul and your physical body by destroying brain cells, which then makes you more vulnerable for demons to enter your electromagnetic field and take control. Society is being ran by an ancient dark cult which uses black magic and the dark usage of alcohol. Why do you think these are legal and this is legal?
I've heard this before, and I think there's something to it.
The CIA recently declassified a book that says all of humanity will soon be wiped out in a global cataclysm. The book is called The Adam and Eve Story. Part 1 and 2 blew my mind and they're up in my profile. What really trips me out is that the events outlined in this book actually gives reasonable explanations to history's greatest mysteries, such as Antarctica, the lost city of Atlantis, the pyramids all around the world, Stonehenge, Easter Island, the forgotten Pacific continent of Mu, the list goes on. And virtually every religion in ancient folklore and history talks about catastrophe that resets the entire world, like the famous Noah's Ark, the Hurricane flood of the Mayans, the Sumerians had the flood in Gilgamesh, and all written completely independent of each other and all prophesizing that it will happen again, aka Judgment Day. Same goes for the legends of the pyramids and all these ancient structures all around the world. Each of these cultures have an almost identical story of some greater being coming down and building these monuments for them, despite these ancient civilizations being tens of thousands of kilometers apart and never coming into contact with each other. Not a single one of them actually taking credit for these incredible achievements themselves. I don't know about you, but if I was some great civilization that built something as incredible as the pyramids, I would definitely want to be flexing on everyone about it. But these stories of the pyramids and worldwide floods, remnants of our advanced ancestors passed on to the Stone Age of the next civilization of humans. And again, the book that outlines these events has been dismissed by everyone as pseudoscience. But as we've seen, especially lately, the difference between pseudoscience and science is usually just time. This book was classified by the CIA up until 2013, so were they trying to hide something from us?
I mean, most definitely, at this point, if you don't believe that.
Ooh, this is for everybody who does not believe that the government can control the weather. This is going to full send you into oblivion, and I am here for it. Scientists are creating an artificial aurora in the sky to conduct experiments. Okay, let's get into it. So this Saturday, November 11th, the HARP Research Facility in Alaska will create this phenomenon in the sky that will last 4 days. We're going to be setting off high-frequency radio waves in the ionosphere in order to conduct these experiments. And like the vagueness of all of it makes me feel like it's just prime time for Project Bluebeam, you know? The way that these experiments are going to be working is they're sending high-frequency radio pulses that will excite electrons in the ionosphere, which is basically the same thing that the natural northern lights do. But the revolutionary experiments are being conducted by UAF and many other out-of-state research programs. Is that weird to anybody else? Scientists will investigate the ionosphere mechanisms that cause optical emissions, Bluebeam, and they'll investigate how satellites can use plasma waves in the ionosphere for collision detection and avoidance. The thing that I find super convenient is that there's also been a lot of solar flares and one massive one that's set to hit Earth on Saturday, which just so happens to be at the same exact time that they're setting off all of these experiments. It just seems a little too convenient to me. So what do you think? Is this going to be a 100% natural phenomenon? Are they going to be doing both at the same time? Or is this solely created by our own government HARP facilities? Please let me know what you think about all of this down below.
This is obviously over a year ago, so I don't know actually what came of it, but I just thought it was interesting.
Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. Have you seen pictures of him?
Can't remember what he looks like now.
Well, he's always walking around with a blue backpack.
Okay.
You know what that backpack is meant for?
Making it easier so you can use your arms?
Nope. He has that blue backpack, and it's called a nuclear backpack, which, if OpenAI, ChatGPT, broke it out of its system, it would remotely detonate all the data centers. It's a kill switch if this AI goes rogue.
What happens if Sam Altman dies?
Or gets mugged.
But yeah, is that not terrifying?
That's crazy. You think he would also just not say that, right? Because like it seems like a pretty valuable thing to have. That's nuts.
This seems like a band-aid solution. There
Yeah.
needs to be like at least 3 more backpacks.
At least double that many.
It needs to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
We need at least 3 more people with backpacks.
What is this? A school for ants? It sounded like Zoolander.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah, that's a risky business, man. I don't know if it's a lot of responsibility.
Transvestites. They're transitioning from one thing to another. We're transhumanized.
They're transitioning the human race to another species. Okay, and it won't be long. It'll be in the 2020s Doc, if you survive to 2030 without any of these genetic therapies injected into you, these biological operating systems, if you can survive to the 2030s and not become a human antenna, it's not just going to be one thing. It's going to be multiple things that they're going to try to get into our bodies.
Right.
If you can survive to the 2030s as a pure human being, you're going to be in a small minority of resistors. Of course, they'll call you terrorists, insurrectionists, enemies, infidels, but you will be the remaining purebloods. You'll be the remaining human purebloods on the planet. Satan is eliminating God's creation. It's why the time until Jesus Christ comes back, I believe it's very short. Nothing like this has ever happened, Doc. Nothing. It's never happened like this on this scale. We don't know what kind of technology that they had before the Great Flood. But the Bible says that Noah was pure in his generation.
Yes.
Does that mean he and his family were the last purebloods left on the planet?
Yeah, that's what the Bible says. So.
But the Nephilim were here. And the Nephilim are still here. And they're busy. And they're directing these scientists and engineers. And they are now transitioning the human race into another species, which is being merged with technology. Synthetic biology. Study that. Just go online and study synthetic biology. It will shock you to find out what advances in synthetic biology they've already made.
One of the other interesting aspects of this particular article, though, is how 6G is going to operate in a whole new environment. It's not going to be operating like 5G is now, basically radio waves and wires. Mm-hmm. It's going to operate in light. It's going to be transmitted through light. Lucifer, he's an angel of light, and so, and we're talking 6G. I just think it's interesting that, even in our own studio here, LED lights, they're pervasive. Every light you own nowadays is an LED light. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that it turns on and off 1,000,000 times a second. But they can now use light to transfer information. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the words that we've come across at these tech conferences is the word ubiquitous. In other words, it's everywhere you look. What's more ubiquitous than light?
Satan wants to be able to say he is the light of the world. Doc, that's what it comes down to.
Right.
He duplicates through technology everything that God is through his being. And Satan wants to be able to say that Satan, is the light of the world.
Yes.
And that's where he's moving. So we'll watch this advancement in technology. Look, God could set it back. He could mess up their technology, mess up their plans. We don't know. But if we continue on the path that we're on, there's not going to be a lot of pure blood humans left on the planet in the 2030s.
Yeah, I think they're on to something there. I don't know many that didn't get I didn't, but...
Let me explain how carbon dating is supposed to work, and then tell you the serious problems with it. Carbon dating was not invented until 1949, in the last 60 years. So when they started telling the kids the Earth is billions of years old, back in 1830, they didn't tell them because of carbon dating. They'd never thought of carbon dating, never been heard of, okay? Why were they teaching the Earth is billions of years old 160 years ago? Well, because they needed billions of years to make their theory look good. Why would there still be carbon-14 atoms in coal? I got an idea. It's not 250,000 years old? Ooh, boy, they don't like that answer. They'll keep searching until they find another answer because they don't like that one for sure. And diamonds, which they say, formed millions and millions of years ago, they still have carbon-14 in them. And it's not possible to contaminate one of those things. I mean, it's the hardest substance we have. It says this cannot be contaminated. Those constitute very strong evidence the Earth is only thousands, not billions of years old. They said, if a carbon date supports our theories, we put it in the main text. If it does not entirely contradict them, we put it in a footnote. If it's completely out of date, we just drop it. You mean they can pick and choose any numbers they want? Exactly correct. If the number doesn't fit what they expected, they throw the number out. No matter how useful it is, the radiocarbon method is still not capable of yielding accurate and reliable results. There are gross discrepancies, the chronology is uneven and relative, and the accepted dates are actually selected dates. This whole blessed thing is nothing but 13th century alchemy. So when they publish an article in the paper and say, we found a dinosaur bone or a mammoth bone, and it was, 17,221 years old in 6 months and 3 days. Like, right, come on. You don't know that. They're making up this stuff. Just absolutely making it up.
100%. And that's how you fabricate history.
The death dumps, otherwise known as chemical trails, are being dropped and sprayed throughout the United States, in England, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Europe, and I have personally seen them not only in the United States but in Mexico and Canada. Birds are dying around the world. Fish are dying by the hundreds of thousands around the world. This is genocide. This is poison. This is murder by the United Nations. This element within our society that's doing this must be stopped. I happen to know of 2 of the locations where the airplanes are that dump this crap on us. 4 of the planes are out of the Air National Guard, Lincoln, Nebraska, and the other planes are out of Fort Still, Oklahoma. I personally have observed the planes that were standing still in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, at the Air National Guard. They have no markings on them. They're huge, bomber-like airplanes with no markings. This is a crime. Crime against humanity, crime against America, crime against the citizens of this great country. They must be stopped. What is wrong with Congress? This has an effect on their population and their people and their friends and their relatives and themselves. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with the pilots who are flying these airplanes? They're dumping this crap, this poison, on their own families. Somebody has to do something about it. Somebody in Congress has to step forward and stop it now. Thank you. I'm Ted Gunderson.
Yeah, you can't tell me that these are a conspiracy theory. Even our own premier here in Alberta has attested to chemtrails. There's been times when I've gone out my back door, looked up at the sky, nice, clear, beautiful day.
So this goes into the glass making of the 1920s. You have cobalt, you have manganese, and you have uranium or radium glass as well. And if you think of these materials, you think of them as things to create energy or to help assist energy. Cobalt is what they use in a lot of batteries to help assist the energy of the battery. And cobalt is also the precursor of B12. So a lot of people suffering from a B12 issue, a cobalt glass can help resolve that B12 issue. Because anything that you're drinking out of that is glass will have a property to it. And this is what alchemy used to do. They would take a material, infuse it into the glass, and that would allow that material or that substance to get into the body. Same with radium, which is the sun ionizing radiation, so you get that radium into the body. And then same when you get into manganese. I had a lady reach out who she was doing manganese. She got a manganese glass. She gave it to her grandmother. Her grandmother had depression, and her depression was fixed. And she's like, I can't believe it. I just drank out of a glass. Well, think about it. Anything that you're drinking out of has a property. And cobalt is a very, very highly conductive one. When you get into the 1929 Great Depression, which was orchestrated, infusing glass. You think of stained glass windows. When they would color these stained glass windows, they would use cobalt, they would use copper, They would use rubies, they would use uranium, they would use all these different materials and put it into the glass so that when a person would stand in front of that glass and the sun would shine or the moon, it would imprint those materials or that frequency into the body, into the blood and the water of the body.
And you combine the work of Veda Austin with this and the water component, right?
Yes.
And how
Yes.
that's huge. Sorry,
Yes, so then you're taking it a step further with Veda Austin's work in imprinting water, and anything in which water is the thought that is in your mind is imprinted into the water, and then anything of material-wise around you also imprints the water. So think about your whole body as one big ball of water, when they're telling us we're running out of it, which is funny, but one big ball of water that's taking on everything of the ether that's all around us.
Very interesting stuff. You know, something as simple as infused glass can have such a major effect on the body via water or just light. Interesting. And yeah, as I was saying about the chemtrails, I've walked out my back door, looked up at a beautiful, beautiful blue sky just to see a couple of planes go by, crisscross over each other. Within an hour, you got that haze that just kind of blankets the entire city, right? And it's, without fault, they do it every single day in the summertime, it seems. I don't know about you guys where you live, but that's what I see every day. It's not only that, but we'll also have weird dust on the truck. You go outside to, go somewhere and there'll be this weird dust on the truck. It's just, I don't know. It's not a conspiracy. Something is going on there. So, but that's all I got today, guys. I want to thank you a lot for coming and hanging out with me as always. Always enjoy making these, and I love your comments. So go ahead and leave a couple down below. Tell me what you really liked about today's episode, and maybe something you want me to look into in a future episode. But until then, I guess I'll see you in the next one. Till then, 80 Canadian signing off.